With the crypto market taking a bit of a tumble today, how is XRP faring and what could we be expecting to happen next? We have seen a pretty good similarity between Bitcoin's movements and that of XRP, and in this video we're going to dive into the technical analysis on XRP on all of these different timeframes, the weekly, the daily and the hourly, to see what's going on here with XRP and what we could be looking forward to in the near future. We'll obviously have a look at the advice.io dashboard underlining the data for XRP to see whether or not there are any potential issues and whether that AI and machine learning is identifying anything that we should be concerned with. We'll also take a look at Glassnode in reference to Bitcoin to see if there's any issues with any potential kind of dumps on the market in the very near future from inflows onto the exchanges. Guys, as we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell and select all notifications. And in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. With this said, done out of the way, let's dive into this technical analysis on XRP. We're going to start with the weekly chart, guys, just to talk through what we're seeing here. The structure of this is unfortunate. Obviously, with the lawsuit that was dropped on XRP back at the back end of 2020, did actually have quite an interesting impact overall, right? So a little bit of suppression, if that's what you want to call it, but basically it did get sucked right the way down here. There was some awesome amount of fear up for sale as people were assuming that that was XRP done. Although I think the recent progress with the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit would actually indicate that XRP is far from done at the moment. So lots of kind of progress there. We want to keep an eye on that. I think there's a lot of really fantastic things going on. Lots of things that, you know, make your eyes open up a little bit as well. And just in general, like how the SEC kind of run things. But overall, this pullback was a bit of an opportunity if you saw it that way. For me, it absolutely was. I built up another fantastic position during this dump and basically buying up the fear that was for sale. We then saw a good motion to the upside. I think a lot of people who were selling down here, you know, really do feel a little bit hurt by the fact that it did push up this way. But nonetheless, we got good traction. We have a correction in the middle along with the rest of the crypto space. And basically, you started to see a pullback. This was the equivalent of a wave 4 with Bitcoin or wave 4 for Cardano, that kind of scenario. And then we start to see a good push back to the upside. But we have been rejected from some key areas. We'll get into that on the daily in a moment. But overall, this structure is very good, and there's no real issues here other than the fact that, you know, there has been suppression in places. This is actually quite a natural correction here. This is the unnatural part. So again, you know, other than that, that actually would have allowed us to be a little bit higher on without this lawsuit. But that being said, you know, these things happen and we have to deal with that, right? We just curb our emotions and act logically with the information that we have available to us right now. I do feel that we are more likely to actually end up in a world of a settlement. So push to the upside is the most likely outcome in my opinion. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. Chris is not a financial advisor. But obviously in doing all the research that we do, we are pretty comfortable with our XRP investments, and seeing this thing move to the upside seems to be the most likely outcome for me. Obviously, it's important that you do your own research. There is no substitute for that, so make sure you just kind of dive in and get stuck into what is going on here with XRP. It's very, very interesting stuff. Over here on the left-hand side, we have a Fibonacci retracement tool. This actually runs from the all-time high and the bear market low, or 2020's low, when we had the crash back in March of 2020, okay? And so this is a low point for many in the space, so taking the all-time high, taking that low, then shows us where we're likely to go under, you know, good circumstances. This will take us out to about $15.91, 1,400% in gains from our current position. Now, for me, this has to be where we see a settlement, okay? With a settlement, then I think we'll see that 4.236 extension come in at $15.91. And again, I do feel I find myself repeating myself a lot, but market capitalization will not be a barrier. Market capitalization is nothing more than a simple calculation of the last sold price multiplied by the circulating supply. It does not show you the actual value of a cryptocurrency. It just shows you the last sold price multiplied by the circulating supply. And an easy way to explain this is that I bought XRP down here, right, when it was like 17 cents. And it's obviously now valued at $1.05, right? So I didn't pay $1.05. but the market capitalization will take my XRP and assume that I have paid $1.05 for it. So we know it's not the amount of money that's gone into a project, and we know that it's a very bad calculation and we cannot really utilize it for very much. Ultimately, the idea behind it is to try to rank cryptocurrencies and pit them against each other and to show which ones are more valuable than others. Unfortunately, it doesn't really do that very well, and that's why we need something like advice.io to show us the underlying value of a cryptocurrency, because we do not get that from a market cap. Okay, it's that point in the video where we want to talk about being safe in the crypto space. We see a lot of scam activity and want to ensure our cheeky community are as safe as possible and prevent anyone from losing their crypto. There are many different scams in the space, but one of the most common and easy to avoid are those hacked wallets and exchanges being hacked themselves. This is where hardware wallets come in. When it comes to choosing a crypto wallet, there is no perfect solution. And no matter which kind of wallet you do choose, if you don't understand the basics of security, you can still become a target of bad actors. Now, like I said, we like hardware wallets because they minimize the risks that we cannot control, such as major data breaches at cryptocurrency exchanges or malware that exploits the zero-day vulnerabilities in mobile and desktop operating systems. To be clear though, hardware wallets are not perfectly safe. They will give you an added level of security and protection though. We do like to use the ledger devices. We have Ledger Nano S and X on this channel, and these are for a good bang for your buck when it comes to keeping your crypto safe and secure. There are two models, the Ledger Nano X and the Ledger Nano S. The X uses Bluetooth and can be used with your mobile, where the Ledger Nano S, it does require you to actually plug it into a laptop. Those are the two main versions, and we actually use both of them as some cryptocurrencies only work with the Ledger Nano S currently. The Ledger Nano S is smaller, however, with a limit on the amount of different coins that you can hold, whereas the Ledger Nano X can hold up to 100 different cryptocurrencies. You often find yourself having a trade-off between the kind of hardware wallet that you want to buy and obviously the ones that do everything you absolutely need them to do. Now, when it comes to cost and availability, I do find that Ledger is a little bit easier to kind of come by and is more affordable to the everyday individual and investor. When it comes to buying a hardware wallet, we do suggest you research the different types and brands, and I cannot stress this part enough. Only order directly from the manufacturer, as there are many fake hardware wallets out there. If you are interested in a hardware wallet, there is a link to Ledger's official website in the description below. You will be able to find out more details about how to keep your crypto safe there. Guys, let's continue with the video. Okay, so it's important that we acknowledge that market cap is not going to stop you from going to $15.91. There are, however, two things that could stop us from going to that $15.91. So if we want to achieve that, we need to see two things happen. We need to see the supply, the circulating supply, get squeezed, right? So we need to see a large portion of that or consistently, portions of it consistently kind of taken out of circulation supply, and maybe put into flare finance, locked up in smart contracts there, or maybe just people hodling it, right? Not willing to sell it for these kind of prices. And in doing so, when new investors come in for XRP, then obviously they'll be paying a higher price. And as the demand increases, the price will push up accordingly. So we need two things. We need the squeeze on the supply and we need the demand to increase, okay? Those are the two things that are going to really help the catalyst of change here, help push XRP to those fantastic heights of $15.91. Of course, if we want to go much higher than that, we require other things to happen. We also require 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 to completely run out of XRP and to basically stop dumping on the market. He's obviously one of the main issues that we do have with price suppression. Obviously, the more volume that comes in, the more he's allowed to sell. So until he runs out, there's going to be a bit of a barrier there. And the second thing is obviously getting clarity. Getting clarity is going to be really helping towards this $15.91, but also it will help with regulations across the board. If people do want to use XRP for their cross-border payments or for other use cases that XRP has in the industries, and there's many of them, right? Maybe flare finance, DeFi, smart contracts, banking institutions wanting to use it for maybe bridging CBDCs, who knows, right? But there's a huge amount of different things that XRP could be used for, and the XRP ledger could be used for. And again, in order to see those, we need to see the clarity. If we get all that kind of stuff and people start actually adopting it, then we could see, much higher prices with a squeeze on the supply, etc. So overall, on this weekly chart, no real kind of issues. Everything is looking okay. Obviously, it could be better based on everything that has been going on, but nonetheless, I'm still pretty confident that we're going to see some interesting targets. And I want to go through what the worst case scenario I think of the bull run could be for XRP and where that's likely to go. But overall, the weekly chart's looking pretty good. Market cap isn't going to stop us from going anywhere. Only things that are going to stop us is going to be the circulating supply and, of course, the demand for the token. So overall, not a problem. And when we actually jump down into our daily chart, this is where we start to see some of the more interesting things that go on. Okay, so right now we obviously do have a Fibonacci retracement tool on the recent performance. Taking the high just highlighted over here and our fourth kind of correction low down here, this fourth wave correction low. This actually then shows us some interesting kind of Fibonacci retracement tools and where we potentially could go next, right? So this actually tops out at about $5.58, which again is a significant position. And again, this might be disappointing to many XRP holders in the space, but we think back to where XRP has been, where its previous all-time high is, this actually would be a pretty good consolation prize considering everything that XRP holders have had to go through in terms of SEC lawsuits, all that kind of nonsense, and the various things that have been going on, pump and dumps and whatnot. So overall, worst case scenario, I'm seeing this kind of thing peak out about $5.58, and that's based on current performance from, I think this is like May time through to the lows of June. So just based on that performance, this is where we could potentially see the next second half of this year, close quarter three, close quarter four with about $5.58, maybe go into next year if it does go on a little bit longer. But overall, we are looking at about $5.58 as the kind of worst case scenario here for XRP based on current performance. So overall, not too bad. But here we can see that we rejected from our 786 area. This was the key thing for us. This is the area that we needed to get the closed candle above to really trigger in those next bullish moves. But obviously, we've got the rejection here from Bitcoin, pulling us down. Again, we wicked actually down to 96 cents. And basically, you'd argue could actually be that we completed an ABC correction, but that isn't the case because we actually went higher than our previous high point over here. So we know it's not an ABC, not on this daily, that's agree. But we could, of course, say that there are other points where we could look at that. But ultimately, we're actually looking okay. This unexpected pullback, and then we stabilized around the $1.07. Currently just tracking below it. We're hovering around this area, right? Basically $1.04. We've been wicking below it, but not closing. And then we've been closing and opening up between $1.04 and $1.07, really fighting this area quite hard. We had pumped up a bit today and fell back down again with Bitcoin, recently pulling back. But we can see that the daily stochastic RSI is down nice and low, so plenty of room to grow to the upside on the daily chart. Nothing really concerning here from the candlestick point of view or from the stochastic RSI point of view. Overall, the daily is looking actually pretty neat and pretty tidy, but we are trading sideways in the same way that Bitcoin is. We can obviously take a look at a few additional indicators here. We can see the volumes have been decreasing as we had that correction, which is good to see. And again, we can take a look at things like the Bollinger Bands. We are obviously coming up here, squeezing in nice and tight, really underneath the middle band there at the moment. So again, that's not the best thing to kind of be looking at in terms of prospects for the future. I do think we're going to be trading sideways for a little bit here in the case of XRP, but overall, there's nothing really to kind of majorly report that's wrong with our daily chart, but we do need to start to see a little bit more traction. So it's important that we do know that there's potentially something in the underlying data that we need to be aware of. So that's where advice.io comes in, and the advice.io uses machine learning, artificial intelligence to help us understand the underlying data in an unbiased way. We're not relying on humans to tell us what's working and what is not working. And in this case here, we can actually see what is affecting XRP, right? So we have a B1 rating overall. Okay, which means we have actually come down a little bit over the last week or so, but overall we're a B1 rating, so it's not too bad. So where are we actually being affected? And it seems to be the fear and greed index. There seems to be extreme fear for XRP right now, so this could potentially be a bit of an issue. But obviously, many people who are experienced within the space know that when the markets are fearful, this is when you buy, and when they are extremely greedy, this is when you take profits, right? So for most people, actually seeing it in an extremely fearful way is actually fear that potentially is up for sale and you could be grabbing a XRP coin at a discounted rate, right? So it's important that we acknowledge what that actually represents rather than just succumb into the fear, right? Ultimately, there's a reason that we say buy the fear or blood has been spilt and all these kind of sayings is because, you know, that's where we buy it up. Now, obviously, there are some areas in the charts that we wouldn't be buying up the fear. So, i.e., if we're just entering a bear market, for example, we're not going to buy all the fear during a bear market straight away. We're going to actually analyze the charts and find those best entry points, right? But considering that we're in a bull market and we're entering into this fifth wave to the upside, actually being a bit fearful is actually a good opportunity because it means that you can dollar cost average a pretty good position moving further forward. So to see that XRP is in this extremely fearful position actually is quite an interesting point to note. We can also see that it has pulled back quite significantly. We are oversold on that daily charts and the weekly charts also pretty interesting too. So overall, it's an interesting piece of information. We take a look at the 𝗕𝗓𝗪 ratio. We see that there are no problems with liquidity. That's an A2 rating. So there's no problems to report there. The moving averages, no problems to report there with an A2 rating either. The profitability, still A1. No problems with the profitability aspects, and even the Sharpe ratio, right? An A2 rating. So risk reward ratio is actually also very good for XRP. So overall, still above the 50-day average, no problems to report with that. So from a Ripple XRP perspective, we are looking pretty good here from the underlying data, and the AI has not picked up on anything other than a lot of fear in the market for XRP right now, which is really interesting stuff to note. So when we actually jump back to our charts and we understand that we're sideways trading, that we are finding this area of support and resistance, there's opportunity in this. So when we actually jump down into our hourly view, this is where things actually get quite interesting, right? So here we can see that we were rejected just above our 702, pulled down, unfortunately, and we were actually lining up for a pretty good move to break past the 786, and it's really unfortunate that we actually were dragged down. But in coming down here, we actually wicked all the way down just below the 382, pushing back up to the 50% area, and then started to trade sideways. But in this, we actually started to see a bit of a downward trend and an upward trend appear. This is actually now forming a triangular wedge. And as we can see, there's still room to grow on our hourly stochastic, but we are looking to pull back shortly. So I imagine that we're going to go up to about $1.07, find this resistance and have the pullback. And hopefully we'll be able to find that our trend line is still intact. And then we'll get squeezed into this triangular wedge at the bottom here for a good break to the upside. The only thing that could potentially stop that break to the upside would be Bitcoin, and whether or not Bitcoin is in any potential trouble itself. So at the moment on the short time frames here, we are looking to push up towards that $1.07, looking to find support either at $1.04 or come down a little bit lower towards $1.35. And where we'll actually then hopefully get that break to the upside that is very much needed here for XRP in this rising and descending triangular wedge that we see in this particular pattern. Now, the other thing that I did mention was Glassnode, right? It's important that we acknowledge what is going on with Glassnode in terms of the inflows, outflows, and all that kind of good stuff with Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin obviously is very heavily correlated to XRP right now, specifically with the patterns that are forming. And as a result of this, it's important that we acknowledge what is going on with Bitcoin, right? So back in May, in terms of where we had that huge pullback for Bitcoin, we saw 168,000 Bitcoin enter exchanges, okay? And huge trading volumes were pushed through. And as a result of that, what you saw was basically Bitcoin absolutely plummet to the ground, dragging the entire crypto space with it. Now, where are we currently? We can actually see that yesterday we only had 11,900 Bitcoin go onto exchanges. Even during the recent pullback, we've only seen 52,000 Bitcoin. These are significantly lower volumes than what we have seen previously. We can take a look at where all of these volumes were, be that 86,000, and basically their volumes have been declining quite steadily, other than the recent kind of spike up here. So overall, there's nothing really major to report from an inflow of Bitcoin to exchanges perspective, meaning that there isn't a huge dump kind of happening here in the background, unless of course it's not happening via exchanges. That being said, everything on the Bitcoin side of things is looking very interesting. It has been trading sideways for quite some time, and we are just aligning things up and waiting to see what the next move is with Bitcoin. So we have to be mindful over what is happening with Bitcoin because it does heavily correlate to what is also going on when it comes to XRP. But overall, everything is tracking quite nicely. There are no major things that we need to be concerned with as we continue our way through all of these charts. So overall, XRP looks like it's lining up for a good position as long as we don't see a huge inflow with Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes and takes another kind of pullback. We should hopefully hold this area. The main thing that we're looking for is, of course, setting these higher low areas that we were setting previously. So as long as that continues and we complete this triangular wedge and have that break to the upside, we should be in a pretty good position here for XRP. But again, we just have to be mindful over what Bitcoin is doing. Guys, hopefully you have found this a brief update on XRP useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.